of Education, October 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Let the minutes reflect that there are 4 members present and Mr. Brogan unable to attend today. Mr. McBride, would you lead us, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, item 3, we have approval of agenda or adjustments.
I'll make a motion, under appointed service that we pull out James Farley and Joe Farley. Vote on those separately, please.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Farley, seconded by Mr. McBride, that we pull out James Farley and Joe Farley under personnel service.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote, we will pull out James and Joe Farley and handle those separately under personnel.
Make a motion that we approve the rest of the agenda as is.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mrs. Farley, that we approve the agenda as read with the previous mentioned change. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the agenda has been approved. Item 4, we have presentations. We'll turn this over to our principals.
Well, I'll run interference real quick while they're
Okay.
setting up. Mr. President and Board, last month I did like the 30,000 feet. Now we're going to go dive into the trenches of each school building. We have our building principals and our specialists here, and they're going to give you more of a dialed down, tailored approach to what each building is doing. That's very similar, but also tailored to the needs of the children in their building. So I'm not sure which principal drew the straw to go first, but it looks like Miss Brown from Talcott is up there, so I'm gonna guess she's going first, right?
Actually, let's go.
Oh, okay. I mean, Miss Gum.
There's a lag on the board.
There's a what?
There's a lag.
Oh, I got you.
Oh.
I thought she said a lab. Like, where's the dog? We're good now. Feel much better. It's just one of those things. I'm not complaining.
So they're cautious.
I've been trying to get water, because my wife tells me, you've been drinking caffeine like you're lost out. I wonder why you lost her. You ever hear that? Yeah, you're going a terrible job of sleeping.
Yeah.
There we go. Can you all see this screen okay, or do I need to move that down?
I can see it.
Can you, okay.
Good evening, everybody. Basically, what I did was just take our strategic plan goals because that's all about school achievement. So we'll go over our goals and our action steps for that. And I think you'll find, like the superintendent said, that he establishes his goals. And then one of our principal goals for the evaluation system is supposed to be aligned to that. We align ours also with our strategic plan goals for reading and math. So, yeah, they are. There you go. There is a lag in this.
Probably fix that in this board.
Okay,
No access.
well, yes.
I think one of our goals is technology too.
Oh.
It's not always what it's cracked up to be.
That'll be fine. We got problem solvers over there.
While they're talking, while they're getting that, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit. The mission at Hinton Area Elementary is to ensure that all of our students have the skills, attitudes, and knowledge to be productive citizens. And so we've put several different places, whether it's through our student leadership roles, through our academic programs that we have, just trying to build them into the citizens that we want them to be later. So taking their talents and helping them grow with those. Very good. Thank you. Okay. So our first goal is Hinton Area Elementary will maintain a percentage of 10% or less for the levels of disengagement. This is our student engagement goal. For each quarter and increase levels 5 and 6 by 3% overall when comparing first quarter to third quarter IPI suites as measured by IPI. IPI, what it does is as soon as an administrator or we used to have IPI teams goes into a classroom, we see what level of engagement is happening. So if it's total disengagement, then it's a 1. We want 5s and 6s because that's the student learning conversations. And that is where you have like the problem-based learning and more student-centered activities occurring. So our goal is to increase levels 5s and 6s and decrease 1s and 2s, which is disengagement or students are working, but the teacher's not engaged with them. Instead, they're at the desk grading papers or whatever. We don't want to see that. So in order to raise our student engagement, these are some of the action steps that we're including. We're utilizing our walkthrough data and utilizing our time in PLC to make sure that we're looking at our data for student engagement, and the staff work with us, Ms. Mills and myself, to create action steps on how we can further improve that. We're going to use the walkthrough data, and we do 10-minute meetings to plan PD for staff. And what we've added that's a little new to our strategic plan action steps this year is that we're going to really drill down. Ms. Mills and I meet once a week and look at our data, and through interviewing the teachers, asking them what they need as far as additional PD outside of what we do with the whole school. And monthly, we do a floating substitute, and each grade level gets an hour where we try to provide that for them. So for example, right now, what I'm gleaning from the walkthroughs we've done already is one grade level needs more work on understanding the DOK levels, depth of knowledge questioning, and learning activities. And another just wants more time to plan for InnovaMat because it requires so much reading and preparation with all the manipulatives and stuff. So that's what we have scheduled for October 14th. So they'll get that monthly. And we want to use our data to ensure that our county and school initiatives are being implemented. We've done a lot of work the last 3 years in ensuring that essential questions, I just want to say EQs, and I don't want to use so much jargon. Essential questions are posted, the learning targets, so the kids know what it is we want them to be able to do at the end of the lessons, and the standard numbers are posted. That's important because the research has shown that just simply by doing that, you can raise student achievement by 10%. It's such an easy thing to do. And referring to it during their lessons, whether it's during the introduction, the anticipatory set, or the conclusion, and going back to those essential questions. Well, now that we've done this, what have you learned from that? That's what we want to ensure is still happening. We don't want to let that go by the wayside. And of course, if they're not there, they can't be engaged. So one of our big goals is attendance. That is also one of our goals for our CSI ATS plan to improve special ed, because the state wants us including behavior, attendance, and academic for that plan as well. So they all are working together. Our goals, the superintendent's goals, the strategic plan, the CSI ATS, they all connect very well and overlap. For attendance, that's okay, I got it memorized. For attendance, we do daily incentives. Ms. Mills is in charge of doing that by 8:15 every morning. If a classroom has perfect attendance, we're doing smelly stickers, and we have a pile of different kinds, and they get one in their agendas if their class has perfect attendance for the day, and we're trying to fill those agendas up. And then at the leader of the month, they get she's keeping track, and the classroom that has the most perfect attendance days gets the big trophy until the next leader of the month. So they get it for about 30 days. And we recognize everybody that had perfect attendance at that assembly. We posted on our Facebook page, and we also have club days. I'm trying to remember back to that slide. We also have club days. In order to attend club day, you cannot have any unexcused absences. Of course, people are going to get sick, and we don't want them coming to sick to school because they don't want to miss club day. So we're just doing unexcused absence. We're also the attendance collaborative pilot school for the county, and Mr. Metter and Candace Berkshire from the high school and 2 or 3 more members from my school met recently and came up with, we're doing strive for 95 because we want 95% attendance rates. That's focusing on regular school attendance. We're doing public service announcements. We're putting it on our Facebook page. On every newsletter, I've had something so far about attendance. So we're trying to put the word out there that, yes, it is so important for you to be in school. If you're even just 10 minutes late, that's 15 minutes of instructional time lost. So we're trying to get that message out there because it seems like since COVID, the importance isn't on school attendance like it used to be. So some specific walkthrough look-fors that we are looking at is the essential questions, standard number, and learning targets posted, student engagement measures, which I already described. We have to look at our DOK levels because we want them higher. We want higher order thinking, higher order questioning. And we also have that, we have ordered higher order thinking question stems and a flip chart for all of our teachers. Risa passed them out years ago, and we bought all of them. We found them on Amazon, and we're excited to give those to all of our new teachers. And we have that scheduled for the next 2-hour delay, I believe. And then routines and procedures are in place because you have to have good classroom management. You have to have a learning environment conducive to learning for school and achievement. And then assessment best practices, just looking at the assessments, making sure they align to mastery of the standards, and using our data from our 10-minute meetings to provide the support the teachers need. Hey, Vanna. I'll go to the next one. Okay. There we go. It's lagging again, even with the cord apparently, but if it pops up while I'm talking, there's a picture of Marshall just to show that he helps us out a lot with attendance as well. We had a little girl last year, separation anxiety, cried every morning, did not want to come in that building no matter what we did. So Marshall started walking her in, and now she walks every day in the building like a big girl. So we don't even have to take Marshall out to her now. Did you print on that? There you go. I don't know why it's like that. I don't know either. Well, it's not coming up here. All right, I'm going to keep going and maybe it'll pop up in a second. But goal 2 is our reading and math, and we want to Increase the number of students in grades K through 5 performing at the Tier 1 level in reading and math based on our benchmark data from fall to spring. And I know the superintendent's goal is 5% growth on our GSA. We have to work on this all year, so we're doing it with our more immediate data, which is benchmark assessments and progress monitoring data. And we also are looking at our modules. They used to be called IMAs. They are on the TIDE assessment site, and they are very much like the end of the year test, same types of questions and stuff, but it's broken down into smaller chunks that are based on the standards that you're currently covering. So we're working on those. Data-driven instruction and analysis at PLC and CSI ATS meetings for continuous monitoring. Reading and math station intervention and fluency Fridays, and I'll explain that more in just a moment. We want to ensure that foundations integrity, that's for phonemic awareness, are being implemented with fidelity in grades K through 3, K through 2 for Haggerty, and the Wilson reading system is being implemented with fidelity with our ELA students with disabilities. Those go hand in hand, the Wilson reading program and foundations. One is Tier 2 and one is Tier 3. Wilson reading system is Tier 3, so they're getting more intensive intervention by doing that. We have gotten Math Fact Lab, and we want to make sure that's implemented. We actually got a Hinton Area Foundation grant to pay for our subscription to that. So that was really great. Novomat implementation with year-long support from the company. And I'm going to wait, and I'm sure Becca's going to talk about that. She can go more deeply into that because Talkit piloted that program. But I really think it's going to make a huge difference. It's more hands-on. The kids seem to really like the format. There's some growing pains because it is a lot of preparation, but I think once the teachers get used to it, we're going to see a big difference. And we had the Leader in Me Empowering Academics training at our Teacher Academy, and that was all about goal setting. And so we looked at our data last year, and it showed that countywide for the elementaries, oral reading fluency was our big weak point. So our wildly important goal, our WIG, is that all students will show, 100% of our students will show growth in oral reading fluency this year by April. And so she had each grade level break that down, and they had to come up with a goal that aligned with our school goal on oral reading fluency, and then they had to create lead measures or action steps. And every grade level has a tracking board where they're tracking that and monitoring it, and our students are monitoring their personal goals in their data notebooks on oral reading fluency as well. Let me see if I left anything off. Oh, yes. And we have top score writing, and I cannot give enough praise for that. I know me as a 5th grade teacher years ago, writing was always the hardest thing to teach, and that's what I've heard over the years from most of my teachers. I only had a couple that said they love teaching writing. So this is explicit instruction. It has slides that pop up and the teacher teaches from it, and it has, like, if it gives an outline for what they're working on, how to build a good paragraph and with the details and everything. It's all right there for her to model, have the kids come up and work with, and then they create. And I've heard nothing but good things from the teachers. They're excited to have this fantastic tool. It helps them with that. I've already seen some writing samples come out of that that's so much better than what we've seen in the past. So we're happy to have that. And of course, Ms. Kelly Mills is our curriculum specialist this year. We did decide to do a curriculum specialist rather than assistant principal. Our enrollment's gone down. The number of teachers we have that are brand new that require more support
has increased. We don't have a lot of veteran teachers at Hinton area any longer. We have some great teachers, but they just need that extra support. So Ms. Mills has been doing a fantastic job in her role so far, and I know that will continue. And just a little more on intervention. Intervention at our school is implemented Monday through Friday, but Monday through Thursday, they really bear down on the specific skills the students are weak in. There's 40 minutes of reading and 40 minutes of math every one of those days. But then on Friday, we have Fluency Fridays. And on that day, the focus is on the oral reading fluency and the math fact fluency. And that is when our teachers are, some students have independent stations going on during that time, and the teacher is pulling each one of their students over for oral fluency checks. Miss Richmond developed rubrics last spring for every grade level, and they use that to grade it. So we have a cold read grade 1 week on it where they've not been exposed to the text, just like on GSA or in real life when you go out and you read something and you have to demonstrate understanding and be able to read it and decipher the vocabulary. And then it's sent home with them so they can practice it with their parents, and they practice them in class or in intervention groups. And then they do a hot read because now they're familiar with it, and they get a grade again. And that kind of balances things out a little bit as far as grading, but it gives us a truer picture of where they are on reading. Because before, what we researched and analyzed and decided was we're doing the reading stories from, their regular HMH reading adoption. They practice it about 5 or 6 times in class, plus they're supposed to be practicing at home. Then they take a comprehension test. Well, they've gone over those questions and gone over the questions. So do we know if they're really comprehending, or did they just memorize everything? So this is a way to truly see if they're comprehending and if they can truly read a cold piece of text and without memorizing. So that's what we're doing with that. And I wish you could see it, but we did develop a logic model at our school as well. And that breaks down our strategic plan even further. And it lets us tell everyone by October, these are all the things that we want to accomplish on our way to meeting the goals on the strategic plan. And then it's by January, I believe. Yes, midterm, January. And then by April, we want all these things accomplished. And hopefully by April, we have mastered the things that we put in our logic model. So sorry you can't see it, but I'll be glad to send you the presentation or a copy of the logic model if you'd like one. And then finally, goal 3 is school culture and climate. We'll improve climate and culture by increasing each measurement area, culture, leadership, and academics on the measurable results assessment, which is taken by students, staff, and parents every spring. And we want to increase that when we compare the one we did 2024 and 2025. This is a measurement assessment for culture and climate from the Leader Me site. And it does the academics, it does leadership, it does the culture, and it breaks it down, gives you all the data. And so we want to increase that, and we want to decrease the number of discipline referrals by 2%. And we've seen a steady decrease since we implemented Leader Me, and we want that to continue. Some of the things that we implemented in order to make those things happen, of course, is Leader Me implementation. We did West Virginia Student Success Standards. Ms. Merle does every single classroom, every week. Plus we have small groups going, New School Scholars program is coming in to help us with our mental health grant that we got last year. And she started today, actually, Panther, I can't remember what she calls her little group. It's kind of like lunch buddies, but they're working on social skills. And they eat lunch with her. And we selected targeted students that were struggling a little bit. And the Teacher Academy was a sensational success. because it was geared specific to what each school needed. At my school, my teachers actually brainstormed and told us what they wanted in it last May. And somehow we were able to fit it all in the schedule. I don't know how, because it was a board full, but we did it. So when our teachers started this year, they weren't overwhelmed with having to get trained on all these programs and stuff. They already had the training and they were ready to go. And they had a little bit of extra time to set up their rooms and stuff. So we want to do what we can to support our teachers because we want teacher retention. That is so important to student achievement. I will tell you, a few years ago, I had Patty Jeffries and Kit Durnan in my building. Both had already retired, but they came back to help us fill positions. That is the year that scores were like 90% proficient and 70% proficient in their classrooms. Experience does matter. You can have a great teacher. They're still learning. We have a lot of new teachers. They are strong. They're going to be sensational with more and more experience, but nothing beats experience. And you want to keep these people here. So we have to do whatever we can to do that. So we're supporting them. We have a curriculum coach. We gave them what they wanted in the teacher academy. We're giving them PD in the monthly meetings, just extra PD that they're asking us for or questions that they have. And maybe in the future sometime, we'll pass a levy that includes something for teachers too. Who knows? We'll see. But we need our teachers to want to stay here, and we need that experience. We also have the physical activity room, so the little ones can get all that energy out and be ready to learn. And physical activity stimulates the brain. It's proven. And communities in schools to provide all of the resources that we need. And also Miss Persinger helps us with attendance as well. That's one of her big goals. And she and I just went on a home visit the other day. So we have a lot of great things in place. And I'm very excited about this year. And I think we're going to see a lot of growth in student achievement. Do you have any questions?
I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I was interested in, when you were talking under goal 2, the cold read and the hot read. What kind of an improvement do you see between those two generally with what you have in place?
It actually varies between the students. Most of the time, you're going to see growth with the hot read because they've practiced it. We had an SAT meeting the other day, though, that one student scored exactly the same. And so we were puzzled by that, but it really just depends. Yeah, and it's going to also depend on how much they're getting help at home, practicing at home.
See, that was gonna be my next question.
Yes.
I wondered if that had a big bearing, because I know that you really have to have parents.
Right. And that's why we also do that during intervention time. I know Donna Duncan was the interventionist in that meeting, and she made that statement that she's practicing with that child too. So, any other questions?
How is your attendance going so far?
When I checked Zoom the other day, it said 93.5%. We had 88, I think. I don't know where Chad went, but wasn't it at like 88.9 or something like that last year? So when we went to the collaborative, they were talking about the goal for us all should be 95%, but to not get discouraged because it's hard and, we celebrate even 1% growth from one year to the next. So, but this is just the beginning of the year. We're going into the bronchitis, flu, and everything else season, but we check it pretty regularly on Zoom and it updates it daily. So, and we have a tracking bulletin board. We're doing a contest, staff versus students. And we announce who has the best attendance rate at the Leader of the Month assembly. And we really try to get into it. It's like, who's it going to be? And so we try to make it fun.
For the teacher academy, is that something you've all implemented just in an area, or is that county?
No, it's countywide. It's countywide. We implemented it years ago when Christy Schaefer was still at my school. And it was really successful. And then Renee opened it up and said, hey, why don't you other schools try this out too? And then we did a county-wide one. We found that the county-wide one wasn't as effective as doing it at the individual schools because secondary and elementary is too different. And so we went back to doing it this way, and it was wonderful. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
We're gonna try another piece of technology. Mine. It is not screen connected. And last time, we were able to connect to the board up front and not this board. One would be better than none if it was.
While you all are working on your technology there, I'm going to jump down real quick to public comments. We have one public comment. I'm going to let Ms. Matthews go ahead and speak to us while you're working on that. If she would like to.
Mrs. Matthews?
Ms. Matthews?
you want to go ahead and speak?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Thank you.
While they're working on technology, we thought we'd let you go ahead and
Okay,
speak.
that's great. Can I just stand here?
You
Be down
can.
here? Thank you for letting me speak. But after listening to that, we may have some kind of disconnect. Because I came here to talk about our Summers County's state, scores. The state scores and, the test scores. And my understanding, and it may be a misconception, is we're kind of at the bottom of the heap. And so we've got some kind of disconnect. So I'm gonna go ahead and present this. I don't think the bottom of the heap is where we want to be as a community. So my question was, what is the Summers County Board of Education doing to remedy this situation? And I hear, these efforts. The bottom of the heap is not really who we are. This school system has a rich history of achievement and success. Renee, my neighbor, do you remember Mary Atkins? Yes. Her son Richard went to West Point. Yes. And her other son, Arthur, went to the Coast Guard Academy. Then more recently, one of the Hannahs went to the Naval Academy. So as we look at where we've been, you have to just wonder how we got here and why we're here. You all remember Gene Fife, some of you heard of him. He became the president of Goldman Sachs, became a millionaire, and then he, with his mother, came back here and gave over $1 million to students, talented students in Summers County to further their educations. Think of the merit scholars that we had. I remember our first one, Tommy Woodruff, class of 61, came to this school system in 1958. So, a lot of these things are from the past, but they're memorable. We also had a couple of Neelys that were MIT material. So what can we do? You do as a board, and we do as a community to change the situation. And the reason is, this is their time, our students. We have an obligation as a community. This is our time, not 2 years down the road. That doesn't help them. So what can we do as a community? You know, the board, the people like me, they're working hard to pass the levy. What can we tell the public that we're doing to bring us out of the situation, because they do know about this? And I guess, I think, you know, somehow we have to get some information out to dispel disinformation about our levy. Because I'm really concerned, and I'm with Lisa Camera Thompson, I think. I've been working with her. She's working so hard, and she's convinced we can do it. And I'm convinced we can do it. But we've got to talk one-to-one to people and tell them we're working on it. We're working as a board so that the community knows. And I don't know how we'll get the information out, but I'm sure you do. So I know that, as I said, we need to show them what the Board of Education is doing, and then convince them that they should do something too. And that's vote for the levy. And I know you all aren't supposed to reply, but if you'll help me, I'll be glad. Tomorrow I have to do an interview. So anybody has any suggestions, I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. So any comments, I'd like to get.
As you know, we're not able to comment because it wasn't an agenda item, but we do thank you for your
Yes,
comments.
and that amazes me.
Yeah.
When I was on State Board of Education, you always had to answer people
Right.
and give them a reply, and if it took half the night, which at times it did, and I don't know when that changed, but we always had to answer people and try to give whatever information they need. Thank you.
We appreciate your comments and appreciate the work you're doing to help us pass the levy. All right, so we'll jump back to presentations now. Brad, we'll turn it over to you.
I really hope this works. Really. So now direct your attention to the screen. Because I always do something a little different.
Pocket treasure hunt, the quest to raise the school flag. Once upon a time, in a lively school nestled in the mountains, there was a special place called Talcott Elementary. The school had many students, brave, curious, and full of energy. But lately, the students were facing a challenge. Their test scores were like buried treasure waiting to be discovered, and Principal Brown knew that with a little help, they could find it. Chapter 1, The Mysterious Map. One morning, Principal Brown gathered all the students and teachers in the gym.
I found a mysterious treasure map.
She announced with excitement.
It shows us how to raise our school flag higher than ever before. But we need to follow a few important steps to get there.
The map had clues leading them to different goals. The first stop on the map was the Mountain of Data.
Here,
Principal Brown explained.
we'll look at how we've done so far in reading and math, and we'll set goals to do even better.
The students cheered. They loved a good challenge, and they knew the treasure at the end of the journey would be worth it. Chapter 2, the Teacher's Toolbox. The next part of the map took them to the Teacher's Toolbox, where they discovered all the tools teachers were using to help them along the way.
Our teachers have been learning new and exciting ways to teach.
Principal Brown told the students.
They've even been practicing math with some friends from Spain who help them solve tricky problems.
But there was something special inside the toolbox. 2 glowing keys. Principal Brown held them up.
These are the keys to fluency.
She said.
One is for reading, and the other is for math.
She explained how students would practice oral reading fluency, where they would read aloud smoothly and with expression. The more they practiced, the better they got at reading with confidence.
And the second key,
She continued.
is for math fluency. Practicing quick and accurate math computations like adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. The faster we can solve these problems, the easier our math journey will be.
With their teachers fully prepared and their fluency keys in hand, the students felt even more confident about their journey. Chapter 3, the Captain's Crew. Next, the map led them to Captain's Cove, where Principal Brown pointed to the Captain's Crew list.
Do you know what this is?
She asked. The students grinned. They all wanted to be part of the Captain's Crew.
This list shows the students who have been working extra hard, being kind, working well with their friends, and trying their best in school.
She said.
And guess what? If you make a list, you get to go on an exciting adventure every quarter.
The students were even more determined now. They loved learning, and the thought of being recognized as part of the Captain's Crew made them feel like pirates sailing for victory. Plus, they knew that practicing their fluency would help them get there faster. Chapter 4, the Secret of Engagement Island. Soon, the map guided them to Engagement Island, where the students learned about the exciting things that made learning fun. Here, they met the house pirates, who taught them how to be dreamers, be givers, to be courageous, and even good friends. They also learned that their school expectations, be kind, be safe, and be respectful, were their secret keys to success. The students began using these lessons every day, both in their classrooms and on the playground. And every day they practiced their fluency, reading stories aloud with excitement, and racing through math facts like real treasure hunters. The more they practiced, the more they realized that fluency wasn't just about speed, it was about understanding, solving problems, and becoming stronger learners. With their fluency growing, these students unlocked special skills to conquer new quests. And what's more, their knowledge-building libraries sent them to new heights. They explored more topics than ever before, and with each new adventure, their vocabulary grew richer. Soon, they were using their newfound words in conversations with friends, making every day a chance to learn and share more. Chapter 5, the Treasure Chest of Parents. Suddenly, they came across a chest that wasn't on the original map.
This is the treasure chest of parents.
Principal Brown exclaimed. Inside were special letters and notes from families who were helping their children along the way by coming to school events like the Book Fair Family Night, student-led conferences, Student of the Month, family luncheons, and the favorite trunk or treat. With the help of their families, the students felt even more supported. Their parents helped them practice their reading and math at home, and the students knew that with everyone working together, they were unstoppable. Chapter 6, Raising the Flag. Finally, after many weeks of hard work and fun learning, the students reached the test score tower, where their final challenge awaited. But something magical happened. Because they had worked together, used their teachers' tools, practiced their fluency, and listened to their parents, the tower began to rise on its own. As the flag of Pocket Elementary climbed to the very top, Principal Brown smiled proudly.
We've done it!
She cheered.
We've improved our scores, but even more importantly, we've learned how to work together, how to be leaders, and to be better learners.
The students clapped and cheered, knowing that their hard work would pay off. The treasure wasn't just better test scores, it was the adventure they had along the way. And so, the students of Pocket Elementary continued on their journey, ready to face any challenge that came their way, always boys practicing their reading and math fluency and working together to raise their school flag higher and higher.
Any questions?
Well done.
Thank you.
How is your buy-in with your students?
So our students are extremely invested in everything they do. And so one of the things obviously that we're working on this year is fluency. And so anything you can make a competition, a game, those kind of things, kids love to see and track their own progress. And so when she was talking about cold reads versus warm reads, so we're all in the same boat. We're doing all the same types of things. Students want to be themselves. And so they're practicing their time themselves. Ms. Richmond actually got us timers this week. So kids are practicing, with their own timers, seeing how far they can get in a passage within 60 seconds. For my own personal children, my daughter's scores can differ as much as from like 20% to in the 90s from cold versus hot. And so it really does depend on the kid. But some kids just need a look at it. Some kids just need a little more practice, that kind of thing. And so the kids are super excited every time they beat themselves. That's what you hear. I beat myself. Yeah, I have 5 more words. And so anything that we can make exciting has been good. And we have begun rolling out our house system. And so the kids don't know what house they're in yet. But the meetings that we've had so far, they're learning about those. And they are extremely invested in the fact that kind of spans the whole gamut of everything that we do. Like it's going to tie in academics and attendance and all of those pieces they're really excited about. And so we can already see in the conversations they're having with their friends, I want to be on this house, but this house is known for this. And, I'm creative, so I want to be in this place kind of thing. And so it's going well so far.
And then the programs that you have on the screen, those are the ones you're actually using, to try to increase school.
Correct. Yeah, they were the same ones that Ms. Guy mentioned. The only thing, if you guys have any questions about the math program, InnovaMath, we just have we have a 2-3 split. So we had a spot in the schedule and they needed a math teacher. So I teach the 3rd grade math. And it is the best part of the day. In one of the lessons, one of the girls, she said, when is the real math lesson? And I said, this is the real math lesson. And she said, really? So, it's a really fun and engaging new way, and kids get to talk to each other in really productive conversations.
Well, I think anytime you can make learning fun for kids, they're going to be.
For sure. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. They're gonna want to be there.
That is the hope. We're also trying to tie physical activities and body motions and crossing the midline. So everything research is saying, we're trying to tie that in all of the areas, specifically vocabulary. And so for my kids, we come up with a student-friendly definition. So we talked about symmetry. So everybody says symmetry is when one object is the same thing on both sides. And so everybody does all of the motions. And so we try to do that for every definition we have. We look at sentences with capital letters and punctuation. And so there's motions for all those pieces. So anytime we're trying to tie the physicality more to it so that we can have even more engagement.
I took note of your puns when you said you were on the same.
I can do that.
I mean, I did extra out. Technology and I sometimes don't get along.
Old school is good too.
Old school, yeah.
Running on a mimeograph.
Yeah.
I did not. I did not follow prayer.
All right. So Jumping Branch has a lot of great things going on. And when we reviewed our strategic plan from last year, we said that we would have growth in ELA and math by 2%. However, after I attended the district leadership meeting where Mr. Warble said his goal was 5%, we decided we were going to increase our goal to match that. So we are attempting to get to 5% ourselves in ELA and math. And I think we're going to do it. We're working really hard. Some of the strategies we're using are data-based intervention groups. We actually have several groups. We have instructional aid that helps with the higher group. And then we have our classroom teacher that does the targeted or tier 1 group. and our classroom aide, if we have an aide in that class. And then we have, of course, Title I that does the intensive group. And then we have an interventionist 3 days a week that will pull kids that are just struggling with a certain skill that week. So that's helping a lot. We also do monthly awards for math and reading. In fact, we have our first award ceremony tomorrow. We're doing the Heart of the Tiger, and that is for like our Student of the Month, Character of the Month, and our trait is honesty. And I have to laugh. I was on the playground yesterday for something, and one of the kids came out and said, they were being very honest when they did that. And I was like, oh, good, they're using the language of PBIS. So I was excited to hear that. And then we have the Tiger Mathematician and the Tiger Reader. And that doesn't necessarily have to be the like highest person. It can be the one that has made the most progress. Because we want to reward progress just as well as we want to reward, the highest. And we're also bringing back the honor roll, recognizing those students who have made honor roll. And then we have perfect attendance since we are the Tigers. So those are our monthly awards that we're going to be having. We have fluency practice every day from 2:45 to 3. So every afternoon from 15 minutes. They do it other times too, but we set aside that 15 minutes that they do fluency. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is ELA, and then Tuesday, Thursday is math. And then we're going to switch those second semester. And that is like all hands on deck. Like our PE teacher even goes in a room and helps listen to kids read and get this fluency so we can get our goal. Because we all found throughout the county that our fluency was our weakest area. We also do a fluency Friday, but we do that in our small groups where they work on fluency in their intervention groups. And then we have a school-wide reading goal. Our kids were super upset that we didn't have AR because they love the accelerated reading program. So our teachers at Teachers Academy decided we wanted to come up with our own. So we have where each teacher chose based on their students' level, what they felt their class could achieve. And it's in comprehension. And they create their own questions and quizzes for the kids to test their comprehension. And if the students meet their goal, which we have a giant kickball on our office board, if they meet their goal, then they get to play, 4th and 5th grade gets to play the staff in kickball. And Dr. Knott has agreed to umpire. And you all are welcome to attend. I'm not sure I'm playing, but I'm going to be out there. All right, so that's the things we're doing to achieve academically. For attendance, our CIS person, Joy Bowling, is phenomenal, and she really works really hard with attendance. One of the things, our theme is it's going to be a sweet year. And so she has cupcake stickers that the kids earn weekly if they have perfect attendance. And then they are entered into a drawing for a Squishmallow that's in, like, it's all about sweets. Like there's a Reese cup one, and those are, so they get their names put in the drawing, and she announces that once a month. And then we have, of course, they're recognized at monthly awards. And then we are in a war with Talkit, which Talkit won last month. And so the punishment is I had to wear my Talkit green to Jumping Branch. And my kids, some of them got off the bus and were like, why are you wearing Talkit? And I said, we lost. And they were like, we'll get them next time. And I was like, we will. So they are working hard. So, and then we do a party, classroom with the best monthly attendance, which was our 2nd grade. And Miss Bowen played bingo with them. And she had some prizes for them to play bingo. So that's how we reward our perfect attendance. For engagement, we have a great group of parents. They are very involved. Pre-K through 2nd went on a field trip today to the pumpkin patch. And I rode over for a little bit, and there was an unbelievable amount of parents. And they were having a great time just along with the kids. Pearl Knott created a book club, and they meet once a month, and they're studying a novel. And I walked into that, it was after school. And I walked in, and they just had their books out, reading their books and talking about vocabulary. And it was impressive to watch them do that. We have our drama club. We had tryouts yesterday. We're doing Matilda Jr., and we're super excited about that. And then we have a new club, Run Club. We got a grant from Active West Virginia, and we found, like Becca said, about that activity increases, their focus. We have a lot of kids that have a lot of energy. So we're starting with 3rd through 5th grade, And they meet from 7:40 to 8 o'clock, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And they just do physical activity. They run, they do exercises, kind of get some of that, energy out. And they do that for 6 to 8 weeks. And we got a $250 grant, which coach gets to use on PE equipment. So we did 3rd through 5th grade to start with. And then second semester, they said we could apply for another grant. And we're going to do kindergarten through 2nd grade. So that way everybody gets to participate and run club. But it's really cool. And they're really enjoying it. We have our PTO. We had our first PTO meeting. We had several attend virtually and in person. And they've got a lot of good ideas. We want to bring back, we used to, when Dr. Knott and I worked at Talcott many years ago, and Ms. Richmond, we used to have partners in education with like the community. So we chose, and Mr. Angel probably remembers when we used to go to the Veterans Hospital and sing to the veterans. We chose to, each classroom, to have a partner with somebody like the nursing home, Main Street, the Veterans Hospital, and they're going to make cards for every holiday, and we're going to have somebody take those. So that's going to be our partnership plus community service. So, the kids can know what it's important. We would like to go back. We used to Christmas Carol, and we would like to do that, but we're a little bit nervous about bringing something into the patient. So we're going to see if maybe we can do something like outside and they just come out, because the kids really enjoyed that. We have several holiday programs. In fact, Ms. Fix is working on our Veterans Day program, and then we will have our Christmas program. We are having a Thanksgiving lunch sponsored by PTO, in which we're going to invite all of our parents in and provide lunch for Thanksgiving. We have a lot of communication with parents. Our teachers do weekly newsletters for their classroom. I do a monthly newsletter. I post on Facebook weekly, just kind of reminders. And then we use Dojo a lot to get the messages out to the parents. PBIS is our behavior program. That's going really well this year. We use the heart of the tiger, honest, encouragement, ambitious, respectful, and tolerant. And the kids are really learning the language this year. So we announce that every day. When I do the morning announcements, we make sure that we say that. And they're doing really well with that. I think we're doing a positive behavior reward that we call a parent if their child has done something wonderful and the teacher nominates them, then I call. And I scared a parent to death the other day because her child has been sometimes in trouble. And I called and said, I have so-and-so in my office, but it's positive. And she was super excited. Let's see. And then we have the new schools at our school, and our programs that we found, the two things we had trouble with were bullying and anger. A lot of kids come to school with a lot of anger. So we are doing the Calming Tigers and the Tiger Harmony. And that was the Tiger Harmony is for conflict resolution, to try to help with the bullying problem. So they get referred to that it's like kind of an intervention. If they get referred to me for something, then I can have them meet with Summer in a group at lunch. On the next page, we have taken our AIMSweb fall benchmark scores. The top one is ELA, and I forgot to put math at the bottom. We did okay. There's a lot of room for improvement, but that was our first benchmark. So we're going to just keep, going. This is what they should know for the year. So it's okay that they're like a little bit low right now, as long as we make progress by January and we see these scores go up. I did have some that were well above, which I was very impressed with, like our kindergarten had 4 well above average. So that was really good. And then I also included our state assessment results from last year, and we did show some growth in math and science. We stayed the same in ELA, but we did go up from 37% to 46% in math, and then we went up from 11% to 22%. So we did show some growth last year, and hopefully we'll show even more this year. And then the final page I have is our September attendance rate by class. So we're above, our first grade was below 90%. So we're trying to get that up. I know Mr. Meadow and I went on a home visit, and if I have a kid that's absent more than 3 days and I haven't heard anything, then I'm calling, and then I'm calling him, and then we're going on a home visit to see what's going on and how we can help that child. So that's all I have. Any questions? Oh, I will say, this is what I did want to say. One of the classes that were struggling the most, I was very, very proud. They have come up 33 to 45 points in fluency at our last progress monitoring, each child. So the lowest child was 33 points and the highest was up to 45. So they are doing, she does a fluency passage 3 times a week. They also read a page a day in a chapter book, and they have weekly fluency practice on the trick words. And then in math, they are working on multiplication facts, 2s, 5s, and 10s. And I saw her the other day, they were getting ready to go to music, and she had flashcards before they could go to music. They have to answer one of those multiplication facts before they can leave the room. And she does it before they go to recess. She does it before they go home. She does it before they go to lunch, because she's trying to get that fluency practice every minute. And it's working. It's paying off.
Your progress monitoring, so how often are you doing?
We do that every 2 weeks. So our fluency has come up, so we're hoping our next one was supposed to be October 11th, but we're out. So I think they're going to do it Monday. And then we'll do another one. Is it October 25th? Miss Richmond and Miss Mills do those schedules for us. And Miss Richmond goes in, our specialist, she goes in and helps any teachers who might be struggling with something or any questions they might have. And then she helps me with the data and stuff, and we figure out which groups to put our students in after we do progress monitoring. At all? Okay, thank you.
And I just want to say, the test scores are what everyone sees. And the test scores don't tell us. I mean, there is a lot of progress to be made. In testing, some people do really well. They're comfortable, but when they get into a testing situation, that's difficult to get.
All right, so Christy has given you a handout, and it's just a few pieces of hard information to go along with what I'm going to tell you. Basically, kind of like Jumping Branch, we had set our growth goal we set ours at 3, and then when Mr. Warville talked about his goals and being 5%, we're going to go back and amend our strategic plan to meet that goal. And we're going to kind of keep it pretty simple this year as far as our strategies to address our low student achievement. There are two pieces of it. One is ensuring that we're teaching to grade level standards, and we're doing that with fidelity. There are 2 pieces to that. One's more of a long term, and one's like an interim, like a short term, to kind of get us to where we want to be in the end. The first one is we're looking, Ms. Gum kind of already told you the things we're looking for as we go in our walkthroughs, but we are pulling the assessments and we are looking at them. These are teacher assignments, and it could just be as simple as an exit ticket for that lesson with just a summarizing question to make sure they got it. Or it could be a whole unit test. We're looking at all of those, we're looking at a range of different assessment pieces, and we talk about those in our PLCs, which we have twice a month. And what we're looking for is, one, does the task that we're examining, does it meet the standard? Not just like, is it on World War II, but does it meet the demand? Like, if it is to analyze the causes of World War II, is there an analysis piece, or are they just listing the causes? That kind of makes sense. Again, we're just making sure that there's alignment. And then we're doing that in our PLCs. We also do that in our 10-minute meetings with our walkthroughs, or from our walkthroughs that we have. And when we look at our walkthroughs, it's a 10-minute conversation based on the 5-minute observation we're in the room. And it's, what did you want them to know? How did you know if they knew it? It's that assessment piece. Then the next question is, what did you do if they got it? So they understood what you were going to get. So what's the next step? Are you going deeper? Are you moving to the next thing? What are you doing and why? And then the last piece is, what are you going to do if they don't understand it? So that it's not just, we did it, we're moving on. Like, we want to make sure that we're supporting those who don't get it and that do get it. And then finally, with our assessments, we're working with Dr. Holler to come in once a month. One of the things he's doing is working with our teachers
to make sure that they're assessing it in a way that's meaningful to them. So, we're constantly doing that in PLCs and 10-minute meetings, but he's going a little deeper with them. He's spending more time making sure that they're really perfecting the science behind what we're trying to do here. And then finally, we look at our walkthrough data, and we did that at our last leadership meeting at the end of September. We discussed like how many DOK3 activities we saw, what percentage, or 2 or 1, and we discussed kind of what we're seeing overall. And as a leadership team, I will tell you, I think we were at like 14.6% of our walkthroughs for September were DOK3. It's the beginning of the year. That's not uncommon. We're also still really working on sound instructional practices that promote cognitive thinking, critical thinking skills. So, 14.6. So the leadership team decided that we're going to get it to 20%. So about 5.5%. That was our goal for October. So those are some things we're doing in the interim. And then you have this thing, the first thing is called a unit plan. And that is part of the backwards design model that we are implementing this year. And again, it's focused on the standard. We're taking the standard, we're building the lesson, the assessment, and then we're building the lesson plans so that the students can achieve the standard. It's a goal to make sure there's complete alignment from the standard to the assessment to the instruction, so that there's no question. Now, every core teacher is working on this. They are building one. The goal is not for them just to do every standard for repetition, just from mindless sense of doing it, but to get us into a habit of planning our lessons in this way. And so we're on our first round of this, and we're continuing as we go forward. Again, it won't be we're not just doing it just to do it. We're doing it so that till this becomes kind of the norm of the reason why what we do during lesson planning. And then finally, the second piece of it is our intervention. And we have two pieces. One is iExcel, which is a program that we gave a diagnostic in September, and it gives students a learning path. But the teacher can also adjust that learning path to say, yeah, but I need you to do these skills because this is kind of what we're working on, or these are needed for what we're working on. And middle school is doing it during the skills period, during 7th period, and high school is doing it during advisory 3 days a week. And they have to meet a minimum of 2 skills mastered per subject for each ELA and math. And then the last thing that you have is assessment data. We all do this, but we're giving our assessments 3 times a year, and we're doing something the high school really hasn't done historically, which is breaking that assessment data down and building intervention groups and really targeting how we're teaching. And I'm going to turn that over to Christy Schaefer because this is her baby.
This is one of my big goals for the year. The first page you see there is our Cambium benchmark number 1 data review. When we took that first benchmark, the teachers met with myself, our ELA and math teachers. We met a half a day and broke that data down we broke it down by students who were below standards, partially meets, and exceeds. So we looked at every student and where they were on the chart and what they need to grow to move up. And we're calling our program Level Up. And I'll explain that more here just in a minute. The teachers set goals for what they want their students to achieve from benchmark 1 to benchmark 2. Some of them put 5%. We had a couple who decided they wanted to try for 10% for benchmark 2. And I will never say no to that. We listed our priority standards that I know, 10's a lot. Yeah. But they're standards that they're really focusing on for this month, and we'll take a look at next month. And then there's the students who they're working with. The second page that you have is the SCCHS intervention plan for grades 6 through 8. Those are the students that they're going to work with on a monthly to a 9-week basis. We're starting with our students that were right below mastery and working our way down the list for them to level up. And like I said, I'll get to that just in a minute. So they work 1 day a week. We'd like to work more, but they come out of the related arts class and we don't want to take them out of some of their favorite classes more than 1 day a week. So they work in either math or ELA 1 day a week, with the teachers in small groups of 3 to 5. Then each, week we've looked at our data. We know exactly what standards each of our kids that we're working with. We have the printout of their benchmark, their student report. So when they know exactly what to work on, they've grouped them by like needs. The very last page I'm going to go over with quickly that says my benchmark track, my Cambian tracking. This is where students are going to set their goals. So we have our staff looking at the data, setting goals from benchmark to benchmark. Our students are going to, they look at their data, they're going to break it down for what their score actually means. And what we have done here, this is 6th grade ELA and math. We have it for 7th and 8th grade as well. We have it broken down to the 3 tiers for below mastery, partially meets, and what to get up to succeed. So they may be below mastery, but there's 3 tiers in below meeting their standards and below mastery. Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So our goal for the students is for them to move up at least 1 level. It may not get them out of does not meet standards, but they're moving up. They're showing growth, and a lot of times they think they can go to, because they'll look at and we'll work out the math. This is the score you have. What do you need to go up to level up to 1 level? What do you need to level up to 2 levels? So that's part of our level up. Then they write their current score, where they are. They'll set a goal for what score they want to be for the next one. Then on the second page, was actually it's your 3rd and 4th page, because I gave you ELA and math. What they do is their start date, where they currently are, the end date, which when we take our next test, and the score that they want to make. Then they write down action steps that they're going to take at school to meet that goal, and action steps that they take at home to meet that goal. And we'll do that after each benchmark. That's it in a small nutshell.
Any questions?
I have a question, comment. I like my community practice, because I know some students will look at this and, like you said, they will do the math and they will say, well, I only have to have so much to move up to this next level. And when they do that, they're gonna say, look, I did this. Hey, maybe I can move up 2 more levels the next time. And I think, it won't seem as intimidating to them to know that taking it just baby steps at a time. I love this.
Thank you.
That'll reflect on the 4th part. And how I shared last month, where we want that child to just get up a rung or 2. Now, if they can go higher, that would be wonderful, but we gotta be realistic to say, where are you now and where can you go? And I think this is a good visual for everybody to see, so I appreciate you guys for designing that visual.
Well, and they build a chart. They put with the highlighter where they are and where they want to go. Then they'll build that little chart, and they could see how much, if they've met their goal.
Do you feel that the beginning of the year benchmark testing, the students took that seriously? Do you compare those, I guess, do you compare those results that you get from the beginning of your benchmark to maybe what you saw at the end of year last year and see, okay, this is on track, or, this is a lot lower, so maybe they didn't put as much effort into it as they could?
You want to answer? You want me to?
I'll give you like the broad answer, and then because Chrissy's really worked with them to break it down into each child. Overall, I kind of see some alignment between end of the year and beginning of the year. So I do think, you always have some people that I think that may not take it as serious as they would the end of the year assessment, but by and large, yeah, there's some alignment.
Always, always.
Well, Mr. President, I wanted you to hear from our A teams.
Thank you.
I think you can see that all the principals and the specialists have worked really hard to give you guys what they want to accomplish. There's a theory, and now they're going to delve into reality. Tomorrow, we're going to get real with our principal and specialist meeting and go over some more data and then be able to give you guys more through the school year. I think there's a lot of successes, but the failures get printed quicker than anything else because that's what people sensationalize. And like I told you at the last board meeting, we've done well with graduation rate or knock tie scores with our CT program. Our attendance and graduation rates are getting better. We do have some growth with all of our schools, but I think if too many people just focus on the one day in time on a test, I understand accountability. Nobody's shied away from that, but we got to be realistic too on all the wonderful things that are going on in this school system. But these people that presented tonight, I would put them up against anybody in the country, honestly, because they're willing to take risk, and they're definitely doing that with the math program at the elementary level. We'll still see what that does. I think it'll bear fruit because they're really digging in and they're understanding some things. And there's been some frustration, but that's called stretching. We ask our kids to stretch. Our adults sometimes don't want to stretch as much as kids because as you get older, you're a little resistant to stretching, if you will. But overall, our teachers have welcomed all these changes, and I think we're going to get there. But I appreciate you guys doing what you did. Tomorrow at the principal's meeting, there'll be donuts and coffee. Seriously. It doesn't meet the wellness. Sorry, Dr. Knott, but these are adults we're talking here. But thank you guys don't have to stay any
Yep.
longer, but
I just want to say,
appreciate
thank you to each one of you all. As a board, we kind of set that 5% goal and we knew that it's a lofty goal, but I appreciate all the buy-in that you all are putting into this. And I think that with the enthusiasm each one of you all had here tonight, I think it's a very achievable goal.
I do
So
too,
thank
yeah.
each one of you all.
In fact, we might talk marketing strategy on our website. She thinks I'm joking.
ChatGPT is worth the $20 a month.
What is it?
I said ChatGPT is worth the $20 a month.
Let's talk tomorrow after the meeting. I'm serious.
All right, so that gets us through presentations. We've already handled the item agenda 5, public comment. So now we are at approval of minutes. We have before us the minutes from September 24th, 2024. And that was a regular meeting, and we also have before us the minutes from September 30th special meeting.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for the September 24th regular meeting. I'll second.
So we have a motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mrs. Farley, that we approve the minutes from the September 24th, 2024 regular meeting. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. But the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the minutes from the September 24th, 2024 regular meeting have been approved.
Make a motion that we approve the September 30th special meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mr. McBride, that we approve the September 30th, 2024 special meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. But the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the September 30th, 2024 special meeting minutes have been approved. Item 7, approval of bills. We have before us the check register and the bills for past 2 weeks.
$1,700 for Greenbrier Communications. Do you know what that's for?
voltage work for doors and wiring.
Say that again, please.
Oh, sorry, voltage work for the doors and wiring.
You know what building?
Yes.
I see we still have a pretty hefty water bill.
I can explain that.
Okay, please.
So, Mayor, here is the question. So as you know, we had a pretty substantial water leak underneath the home football bleachers.
Okay.
Back late August, I guess. It was fixed approximately September 4th. There were 2 attempts by our maintenance staff to fix that water leak. Just couldn't quite get it, which resulted in a couple of additional nights of leakage because when they came back and checked it the next morning, it had popped at the fix. We hired plumbing out there, plumbing, they fixed the leak. So we have finally received that water bill.
Okay.
So I contacted West Virginia American Water Company, talked to a customer service representative. And she basically told me there was nothing that she could do immediately because the amount of water was not at least 2 times more than what the 12-month average was.
Mhm.
However, after talking with her, I said, is there an appeal process? Is there a way that we can, ask for some higher up guidance? She did do that. So she put in a ticket there. So we're looking at probably a 3-week turnaround time for that.
Okay.
Hopefully that will give us some sort of credit, which leads into the sewer bill, which you probably see is
Yeah.
very large. So I contacted the city, talked to the lady who handles the sewer bills. Like the situation. So their protocol is somewhat similar. Of course, our sewer bill is based on the amount of water that you use.
Right.
So in the event that there are water leaks in this variety, city typically will take what these water company credits, and then they will credit sewer leaks.
Mhm.
Until we get that ruling, either we're not going to necessarily have credit for the city sewer. However, she did state that in the event that water company does not, then they will work with us to establish some sort of credit. So
Okay.
I know the city sewer will get something, but the water I can't hear.
Was that a pretty good sized line?
Yeah, it was a 2-inch line.
So it was coming
I
out
mean,
pretty
it was-
fast.
It was, I mean,
Okay.
which I really think it was leaking some
Mhm.
prior to it blowing. If you've ever been around that soil pipe there, I mean, it's so sandy, so it would take a while for it to present itself.
Right.
And when it did, I mean, it was just, you could see it bubbling on the surface. So, my experience with water line, that type of soil, that's a,
I'm glad it busted when it did, 'cause if we had a home football game, that was a geyser coming right up there in the bleachers. That would not have been good. Terrible timing.
I'll keep you informed.
Okay. Thank you.
And then Wiser Educational for $1,100.
And we have Radford and Radford. This is not a final payment or
No,
anything. We
but
still
they're-
have money though.
This one's gonna sit in my office for a while,
Okay.
until I see some things move. So that, just because you approve it,
Hmm.
doesn't mean I'm turning it over. I have to talk to the owner first about some things before we can hand out a check to them.
And there will be additional payments to them besides this one. This isn't a final.
No, we're getting to the final.
Okay.
Mark Miller with the SBA, we're working on a list of items that need to be finalized before we get to that point. But once that happens, you'll get all that information, what we're doing for a checkoff list with them.
Okay.
Meanwhile, we're also moving towards working with them to get a roof on the CTE building too, so.
Right. Any other questions about the bills? Do I have a motion?
I would pay the bills.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mr. McBride, that we pay the bills. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the bills have been approved for payment. Old business, discussion or possible action to approve changes, amendments to policy 2B5 regarding legal service agreement. Has that one been out for the 2 weeks that it needs to be?
Yeah.
Okay. Did we get any feedback from Rolls Royce or Trey regarding that policy?
Well, evidently he didn't email you. I contacted him last week. I said, you probably need to get in contact with you about this.
Mhm.
And he said he was going to do a follow-up email with you. So if you're saying you haven't,
Well, let me make sure.
well, let's do.
Things are crazy.
Well,
I'm not gonna say you
I don't
didn't.
want to call anybody out. What I'm saying is, if it didn't happen, I think I need to get Trey on the phone tomorrow and have him reach out to you then.
He possibly could have. It seems like there was. When did you say that would have been?
A week ago. It was, Monday or Tuesday of last week. I think he had some training though, so I couldn't talk to him. He said, can I call you back? And we can talk the next day.
I don't see one from him, just looking quickly.
Okay.
So I would recommend we just take no action on this until we talk to him,
Okay.
and then we can address it put this on for our next meeting.
Okay.
All right, B, discussion or possible action of new school MOU.
So I had asked for this to be on the agenda, and I think I'm putting some pieces together. I was just somewhat confused because we had not approved a new MOU with New School. And to know that we're still working with Summer, is that correct, with New School? And any other new school
That's
workers?
because, we have this, Project Aware grant that we're able to receive. And that's separate of what New School does, more intensive, that you've gotten reports on from Derek.
Okay,
So Derek and Cindy, him and his wife will be meeting with the principals and specialists to see if there's services that they can provide us. If they want certain services, they can tailor that to what the principals and specialists will be asking for. But tomorrow will be a day for them to have that conversation and go from there.
and how long is the Project Aware grant?
Basically, we can get that every year. Right now, they're willing to hand us that money to help out with, suicide prevention. I mean, that's the big push.
And so it's through, is it through
The state,
this school year or is it through the calendar year?
it's usually through our school year. And part of that could be depending on if it's how the state does it with the federal government. Usually that's more of a September calendar, not June and July like we work on here. And that's usually how the federal grants usually work out, so. But it is a calendar year based.
That was just my concern.
Okay.
No action.
No action.
Okay,
Good.
so we'll take no action on that. And then potentially a MOU next board meeting.
Yeah.
Based on.
Yeah.
Item C, discussion or possible action to sell the old middle school building. I would like to make a motion that we rescind our action in the last board meeting to sell the old middle school property.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion by myself, seconded by Mr. McBride to rescind the action made in the last board meeting to sell the old middle school property. Discussion. Based on our communications, there had been no action taken on that motion from the last meeting, so we are able to still rescind it at this time.
Okay.
So, if the board so chooses. Not telling anybody how to vote. So, so now we have a motion on the floor by myself, seconded by Mr. McBride to rescind the action to sell the old middle school property. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 3-0 vote with Mrs. Harvey recusing herself that the action taken at the last board meeting to sell middle school property has been rescinded. Item 9, new business. Approved purchases over 25,000.
We don't have any.
None?
I wish Mr. Brogan was here to hear that.
We'll send him a text
Yeah, there
afterwards.
you go.
Discussion or possible action to plan a work session. We've talked about our work session, and I think that the schools have kind of gotten settled in. I think it would be a good time for us to try to get one scheduled. I don't know what your all's calendars look like. I know October is really full for me, but if that's when we need to schedule one, I'll see what we can get worked out. What are the thoughts? Do we want to do like we did the last work session and maybe do a half-day work session? Do we need a full day?
Whatever you want.
What about from the central office? What are your all's thoughts?
I just
How
recall
much?
you guys made a comment about if we met like at a building like
Mhm.
this one and the schools could come
Mhm.
in and out, you could at least get the principals or any of the staff that.
Yeah.
I would think you'd want to do that more as the school day.
Mhm.
Now, it doesn't have to be a full day, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
In that realm,
Right.
but that's your call.
Could we coordinate it with one of the 2-hour delay days?
It depends, is Ms. Jones, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, and I see you looking at your calendar. It depends what's scheduled that day,
Right.
and I understand what you're saying now, that's less interruptions.
Right.
I think it's a possibility because I know some of them are doing some of the active shooter trainings and doing that kind of stuff too. Because the the principals wanted to make it more realistic at their respective buildings to practice, so.
I think,
Do you know when the next one is, Ms. Jones?
We don't have a 2-hour delay in November over the week for Thanksgiving.
Right.
We have a 2-hour delay tomorrow.
Well, of course, yeah, that's true.
We do have a PL day on December 20th. That's
No
a full
students.
day for staff with no students.
is that too far out?
Yeah, I think that's pretty far
Yeah,
out.
I think we need to be.
Why don't, the
Closer.
central office get together, give us maybe 2 or 3 dates?
You want to do
Do you
that?
think that would be, and
Mhm.
email us 2 or 3 dates and let's nail it down that way?
And then you all can just reply all, that way we can kind of,
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep, I think that'd be
we can do
good.
that.
And that way we can
Are
include
you
Mr.
guys are
Brogan
looking
as
at a
well.
full day then?
Really depending on what all the agenda would hold.
Okay.
I think that, we could develop an agenda on specifically what the central office feels is a need for us to work together on, and then, we could throw out some agenda items as well.
Yeah.
And then at that point, determine if it's gonna be a whole day
Right,
or
sort
if
of
it's
work
a half
backwards
day.
from
Yeah,
there.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's good.
If you all could give us maybe 3 dates, then we could narrow it. Is that good with you
yeah,
all, 3
that's
dates?
good.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so we will
Okay.
take no action. We could just leave this on the next agenda and, we may know something before then, but we'll leave it on there and discuss it.
Okay.
Okay, item C, the discussion or possible action to approve out-of-state overnight trips. This is for Amy and Nathan Smith. And this is I guess this is their technology conference.
This is the one they do every year this time, and Mary Kate Elkins was gonna go on it, but that's our 3 tips, and she couldn't make it, so I don't want people to think it's just it's for a married couple going
You're
on,
right.
but they do come back and share with you all. Between the 2 of them, it's always great to see what they've learned. Those 2 do a great job with our technology as well as Mary Kate, but, this is about the same time every year when this trip is taken.
I make a motion, we approve the, out-of-state overnight trip for Amy Smith and Nathan Smith.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Farley, seconded by Mr. McBride to approve the out-of-state overnight trip for Amy Smith and Nathan Smith, November 13th through the 15th. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the out-of-state overnight trip for Amy and Nathan Smith, November 13th through the 15th, 2024 has been approved. Discussion or possible action to approve club trips and attendees. This is a fellowship of Christian athletes to the WVU game in Morgantown, October 12th. Should be a good one.
I will make a motion that we approve club trip and the attendees, chaperones for the FCA.
A second.
Okay, we have motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mrs. Farley to approve the club trip and attendees for October 12th. Is there any discussion? Are they taking a bus up?
I have to check Travel Tracker now.
Well, and that's what, because we've got Travel Tracker, so I was just curious if they were taking a bus.
I would
It
have-
says school bus, type of vehicles needed to reserve,
Yeah,
school bus.
Okay.
I think, it always depends on the number of students who are going.
Mhm.
I would think most of them are gonna want to go.
It's
Looks
under
like
Brian
it.
Boone, yeah.
Okay, good. It's a late game, so I just worried about people
Yeah.
driving home.
Yeah.
So. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote, the trip of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes to the WVU game, October 12th, has been approved. Item E, discussion or possible action to approve step increase for math and special education teachers per West Virginia code. We have Doug Nickel, Andrea Richmond, Christina Hanna, Jack Long, Ellen Holt, Kathy Lamb, Stacy Young, and Pamela Mounts. I'll make a motion that we approve this step increase.
Second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Mrs. Harvey to improve the step increase for the math and special education teachers per West Virginia code. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the step increase for math and special education teachers per West Virginia code has been approved. Discussion or possible action to approve interim services provided by education consulting team.
Basically, this is the treasurer that retired from Greenbrier County Schools, Dave McClure. He's already working with the state to mentor new CSBOs for 3 years. This would be on top of the services provided, because just like right now, we don't have a CSBO to do drawdowns and things of that nature by state code. So we need someone in the interim to help run interference, and also whoever comes in, it would be nice to have a little more help from his office, because he's done a great job as a CSBO in Greenbrier County. It becomes highly recommended by people at the state level.
So this is paid through step 7D funds.
Yeah.
Is this the state funds that will be used for CSBOs with less than 3 years experience, or will that be separate from this?
No, this is separate. This is separate of that. We're receiving that already. You guys
Okay.
approved that mentorship at a board meeting before. This is due to the resignation of our previous CSBO.
So this is until we fill the CSBO
It can
position?
be that, or we can work with the transition to make sure everything, I would really like him to help us get that, office cleaned up. There are some things on the books that were there for a while, and I know Miss Harley, you made a comment at the last board meeting, and I think it was a good one. You sent something out and the auditor didn't see that.
Right.
Well, the auditors would never see something if it's not connected necessarily to an account through Weavis and those types of ledger forms. But if you create your own separate one and it doesn't get disclosed in a proper way, it's hard for someone to know about that. But since it's been, what I want to say, to our attention, we're going to get that cleaned up with the new CSBO. But I'd also like a third party, which would be Dave's consulting group, to say, could you help us with anything that you see that looks like it needs cleaned up? Now, what has happened was there was a lot of checks out there that were written, and we just wanted to make sure they were cashed. But when you see them on the books, they should have been taken care of and put off the books. But what happens is it looks like the county has money sitting out there that's been not taken care of properly with the books. So long story short, I would like to see someone come in and help work it out. I don't think he's going to need that many hours. I think he just put something together for you guys to chew on. But it's up to you all how you want to do this, but I don't think he's a type of guy that is going to abuse it. He is busy enough with this consulting at this point in time, mentoring plenty of new CSBOs.
And step 7D, what is that fund?
Basically, that's a fund that gives us discretionary spending. We also can use that with, Jay knows this, we've purchased buses out of the step 7 budget, but this one's more discretionary for things like this. That's not earmarked specifically for a certain item, but when you do go to spend it, you have to say it's coming out of that fund for a specific item, if that makes sense.
Is there any, maybe I'm just overlooking it, but at what point does this terminate?
Oh, anytime we want to. I don't think we're going to use them as much, especially if we can possibly get someone hired, possibly this evening, if that's a possibility. But this was because we didn't know.
Do we have a motion for the education consulting team services?
Well, it's my fault. We need to get whatever this is cleaned up. I make a motion that we approve the education consulting.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mrs. Farley, seconded by Mr. McBride. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Uh,
Aye. Opposed? Abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that to approve the interim services provided by Education Consulting Team. All right, item G, we have discussion or possible action to approve gifting the middle school building to Three Rivers Forever Foundation Incorporated. Yep. So we have been out of the middle school now for 3 years.
Yeah, yeah.
That building has still remained in our possession. We talked a little bit about gifting it to the Three Rivers Forever Foundation. There was some interest there. But it just really hadn't moved. And so, I would like us to reach out to them one more time because they are local and they've done a lot of work on buildings in our community, revitalizing some of the areas. I would like us to reach out to the Three Rivers Forever Foundation again. If you or Chad could just touch base with them and offer this to them once again with the understanding that by January 31, they take possession of it. And then if by that time frame they haven't, then we could go back and look at the auction avenue. But so I'll make a motion that the superintendent and/or Mr. Metter reach out to Three River Forever Foundation and ask them again if they would be interested in taking over the middle school building, provided they take possession of that by January 31 of 25.
I'll second.
So motion by myself, seconded by Mrs. Farley for the superintendent and/or Mr. Metter to reach out to Three River Forever Foundation regarding the middle school, if they would be interested in taking possession of that, provided it's by January 31, 2025. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 3-0 vote with Mrs. Harvey recusing herself that the motion has passed. All right, we are at item 10, personnel. We do have a few additions here.
Skip H.
Did I skip H? Oh, I missed H. Thank you.
It's been a long.
No, I wrote my other comments in the wrong box.
I've done that a few times before.
All right, so let's go back on track. Thank you for keeping me straight there, Mrs. Farley.
You're welcome.
H, discussion or possible action to place transportation policy out for public comment.
Mr. President, I want to interrupt for a minute.
Yes,
It's
sir.
not ready.
Okay.
And here's why. You remember, if you guys don't recall about a year ago when you had a drunk bus driver with students on it, bad accident up north, and that had a big issue with that gentleman making a poor decision. Having said that, the federal government came in and did their investigation. They're finding out that the state of West Virginia needs to do a better job. So we have a whole year to do a better job to match up with the federal guidelines as well. So we've done a great job complying to state guidelines, and nobody's in trouble if you do everything they ask in 1 year. Now, when they come back a year from now, if they see you don't have policies in place and you're not following said policies, they could fine you for up to $10,000 for each infraction. So Mr. Boone has worked very diligently to get a policy put together. He's given it to Trey. Trey is looking it over to clean up anything, but Jay used to do the job and you know how strict some things can be. But, you know, it's sad that a kid had to lose his leg and a person and trust to our children would do something like that. But having said that, since it happened, everybody's getting smacked in this state to clean up everything in the bus garages. So Mr. Boone has done a great job, but he's had to go through everybody's files meticulously and make sure everything is the way the federal government would like things. Again, we've met state, But now these federal policies, and that's why we're going to bring to you updated policy. That was kind of a long story. I tried to make it short as I could.
And that still falls under the, policy updating agreement that we have with Bowles Rice, correct?
From my understanding, I think so.
Okay,
But I tell you what, I'm gonna have Trey reach out to you on that other one.
okay.
Maybe it's a 2-for-1, I don't know.
Yeah, and I'd like to get an update.
Yeah.
We can talk about that at the
Sure.
end, but
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
To reiterate, the incident you're speaking of was not this county.
Not in Summers County.
Yeah,
It's
that was
not-
up north.
Right, it's not our county.
And really, the thing is I feel for that community and that whole group of people, because there are a lot of good people who take care of our children every day on a bus, but, long story short, we have to comply to the federal government guidelines.
All right, now we're at item 10, personnel. We do have some, couple additions we need to put here. For employment service. For bus monitor, it's the very bottom one, employment service, was a name change there to Carolyn Johnson. And then employment professional, right under that, we have for the CSBO, Kayla Kincaid. So those are just two additions that we have here. Mrs. Farley, if you would like to step out. All right, under personnel, the first we'll consider our employment service, and that's James Farley and Joe Farley. Those effective dates are 11/1.
Make a motion that we approve James and Joe Farley.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mr. McBride to approve James and Joe Farley for employment service. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 3-0 vote with Mrs. Farley recusing herself that James Farley and Joe Farley have been approved. All right, we have before us now the remainder of the personnel recommended by the superintendent.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session based on West Virginia Code 6-9A-4, paragraph 2, personnel.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mr. McBride, that we go into executive session based on West Virginia Code 6-9A-4, personnel. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote. We will now go into executive session. The time is 7:53.